AI being the most hated thing in the world right now, I think a lot of that adoption is going to be forced adoption because these things that people already use throughout their day are going to start having AI implemented into it. So a lot of people aren't going to voluntarily be using it, but they will be using it. And where does that lead us as a society?
Like you said, I think it's really important to see the workflow, right? The process should, in my opinion, be AI or automated until I interact with your company or your business. If I walk into a store and everything's perfect, but then I use the restroom and the restroom it looked like something exploded in there, that's important to like deal with. That's a human aspect of things.
Hey, it's the Pioneers Podcast. It's the Pioneers Podcast. It's the Pioneers Podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Pioneers Podcast. I'm Andrew Moullin, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Chad. We are here for the operators, the entrepreneurs, and the directors who see the world shifting but refuse to become tech people just to keep up. We are the podcast for the non-technical. Chad, what's new?
First of all, did you just come up with that on the spot? Because that was really good.
No, I didn't. Gemini.
Well, okay, I was going to say I was impressed, but hey, at the very least, just take credit for it. And I think that is a great segue into what we are going to talk about ultimately. I was going to say having AI do something and then taking credit for it. Nah, I don't know how you should do, if you should do that particularly, but I think this AI assisted workflow is certainly going to be more and more commonplace in everyday, business operations and work. But, what's crazy, Drew and I were talking about this before, is the most hated thing in the world right now, including politics, is AI, which is mind-blowing to me. How did that make you feel, Drew, when you heard that?
It's so crazy to me because I remember it was the beginning of this year, maybe in December, when every business was we are using AI. Like Loom, for example, is like the screen recording app. They're like, we have now implemented AI into our business and our company or whatever. It's like how most of them were just like using ChatGPT, or they like added a bot onto their website or whatever, and they wanted to be seen as like AI powered. And now everyone is like, we hate AI. So now everyone's like, they don't know what to do, and they're like trying to pivot real quick and all this stuff. It's just like it's just constant reaction over and over and over again. And I predict on this podcast right now, in the next 3 years, it will be the most loved thing, or the most, it'll be like the car. It'll be like the internet, where I don't know if anyone hates the internet now. They're like, oh, we hate the internet. I don't think that's how it is. And I think that we're going to see that with AI, is eventually it's going to be like, oh yeah, I use AI every single day. I wake up and I talk to AI and this thing happens, and it's great. It's fine.
Exactly. And I think that some of that adoption isn't going to be voluntary adoption. In fact, probably based on solely that statistic of AI being the most hated thing in the world right now, I think a lot of that adoption is going to be forced adoption because these things that people already use throughout their day are going to start having AI implemented into it. So a lot of people aren't going to voluntarily be using it, but they will be using it. And where does that lead us as a society? I have no idea.
Yeah. And I also think that Sam Altman has something to do with the hate. I mean,
He's
genuinely
100%.
I mean, genuinely
look
who's behind AI right now. It's probably the most hated people are behind AI, and then we just attribute that to them, right? Like Elon Musk, obviously, very polarizing person. Sam Altman, everyone hates him. He literally, and no problem with this, but he just finally showed up in public with his boyfriend or his husband. Like, first of all, why have you not done that before? And second of all, it's like, it's all like this showy thing. It's all like, look at me over here doing this thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to everything performative. Everything looks like it's for them, or it's like some sort of money grab, or they look at the data centers and they're like ruining rural America, and all these different things are getting attributed to AI. but it's not AI. It's these companies that are absolutely just running full speed ahead with AI. And we're just all like, why are you so into this? Why are you putting $800 billion into this company? I think that's sort of the nuance behind all of that.
I mean, I totally agree.
So today we are going to be doing a Q&A episode. We like to do, whether it's up-to-date news. I mean, we have multiple segments on the show. It's either up-to-date news, like what's going on in AI. It's either case studies of people and businesses using AI to successfully run their companies, or it's Q&A from people like you, either watching or listening. So if you guys want to have your question answered, then make sure you guys put it in the comments below in the YouTube channel. If you're not watching on YouTube, go watch it on YouTube. All right. So the first question is from Jacob, who is a business owner. How do we automate the workflow without stripping away the quote unquote human value our clients actually pay for? Chad, you want to take that one?
This is where taste is important, because you know your industry best. You know your industry better than any computer engineer, and you know the things that can be automated, and you also know the things that do require that human touch. And being in a business where that couldn't be more true, and being able to balance those things, you can really realize the efficiencies of being able to delegate those things that don't require Andrew to be, or Chad to be there, or Jacob or whoever, to actually be there, and having that human touch, because there's so many things that your customers don't see in the process. They don't give a shit how it's done. They just want it done, and done right. And especially, you are doing your customers a disservice if you're not using it, because humans make a lot of errors. And yes, the AI hallucinates, etc., but for God's sakes, Anthropic just had to withhold their new model. What was it called? Mythos, what was it
Something
called?
like that.
Whatever. Yeah. But they couldn't release it because it was too powerful.
Yeah, I
So
saw that. Yeah.
it probably will do a better job than you ultimately. So figure out how to leverage it.
Yeah, Mythos.
Which,
or Mythos or whatever. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. People don't care how you deliver the product as long as you're delivering it in a way that, like, that touch point with a person, you can discern whether or not that has to be you or, an associate or whatever. When I go and I think about this, I reference Walmart, but when you go to Walmart, you want to go and find something or look around and browse. Yeah, if someone comes up and says, "Hey, how's your day going? Is there anything I can help you with?" That's really nice and that's a good touch. But when I'm checking out, I don't really need someone to help me check out, right? Now, when I'm walking out, it's nice to be greeted and say, someone says, "Have a great day. Have an amazing day." Cool. Those touch points are important. I completely agree that those touch points are important. We had a plumber the other day come. He was really nice. He gave us a nice discount because we had a good chat and all this stuff. That's really nice. I don't give a shit about how you're scheduling these things. Like, I don't care if I don't care if I'm talking to a human or if I'm talking to AI based on, are you scheduling it properly? Are you here on time? Are you doing those things? I don't care what's happening on your end of things. If I cannot see it, I don't care what's happening. And so I think that's really important. Like you said, I think it's really important to see the workflow, right? You don't even have to have a human trigger it, but the process should, in my opinion, be AI or automated until I interact with your company or your business, right? Now, do I need
you're
someone
saying
to help?
until the customer interacts with it. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So until the customer interacts or sees how the company is actually operating, like if I walk into a store and everything's perfect, but then I use the restroom and the restroom is, it looked like something exploded in there. That's important to like deal with. That's a human aspect of things. But for me, I don't care
Wait,
how you,
stop.
I don't care how you're posting your Instagram post, right?
Right. Now, how would you deal with that situation, Drew, if you were Jacob and the bathroom exploded?
I would
What does
clean it
that
up.
human touch look like?
I would clean it up.
Mm. Now, would you care if AI did that? No, but
If a robot did
to
it,
your
even cooler.
even cooler. Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, to your point, that's where you know your business best. In some businesses, people do pay for service, and they're paying for the touch point. In which case, you should not, and I potentially cannot outsource to AI. But to Drew's point earlier, I don't care who cares how you schedule it. I mean, in fact,
Right.
if it makes it more efficient and then you don't miss my appointment because you were driving and, trying to schedule something instead of an AI doing it, now you're doing a disservice to your business.
I want to say like one quick tip here, something that I noticed like right before getting on here. There's this company, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically like when you wake up, you have this little tab. It's like rubber, and you have to sync it up to your phone in order to turn off your alarm in the morning, right? So it's like you put this tab over in the bathroom or across the house or across the apartment. In order to turn off the phone, you have to go and find the tab and you have to do it, whatever. It gets you out of bed, right?
Yeah.
People are buying this product, and the guy who invented this product, he's like 25 years old. He calls, like he finds a random person on there, he calls them and he says, "Hey, I saw that you bought it at 3:06 p.m. today. Just first of all, thank you so much for buying it. Why did you buy it?" And they're like, "Because I have this insomnia issue, whatever the issue is." But that is the touch point. First of all, the guy bought it without even ever talking to anyone. He just bought it. But then the touch point along the process is understanding, why did he buy it? He bought it because he had a problem and he found a solution, right? That business in and of itself probably doesn't necessarily need like a human touch. They just need the product. But another business like the plumbing company, it's like eventually you're
So
going
it
to, yeah.
so what you're saying is you can leverage the human touch to be more mindful when that customer is reached out to or touched in areas that can help you stand out even more. And that doesn't even particularly mean, oh, this business is automating their receptionist, let's get a real receptionist. It means doing something out of the norm to insert a human variable, like the guy with the app who's calling the people. I mean, that's pretty unheard of, having a founder pick up the phone and call customers, but also it leaves an impact, right? So how can you impact that customer along the way? And it just it should create more efficiencies, because you should have more time to be able
Yeah.
to truly take care of your customer, because the bullshit is being dealt with.
How many, like honestly, how many business owners, like small business owners, actually know their customer path? Like this person, every single product that I use, every software I use asks me, "How did you find us?" And it has like a list of like 10 different things, like Google, social media, referral, all these different things. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, obviously once I pick one of those, and I almost never like pick the actual one, whatever. I probably mess up the data,
exactly.
and you pick it, whatever. But they have all this tracking in there now and all this stuff. But they know their customer path, they know their customer journey, and if you know your customer journey, you can find ways of putting AI in the journey where this person doesn't care about their question getting answered by a human, if it's via email or via like a chat or whatever. They don't care if it's a human saying it. And I've seen AI products where it's like, "Hey, this is Sally. I am a human." It's like, "No, you're not, Sally. Your question, you answer way too quickly."
And then
But
and
yeah,
that's a huge problem that I would highly encourage businesses not to do,
yeah.
is it being untruthful about the use of AI, even though it's kind of like how I started the episode, but obviously I was kidding. But
Uh-huh.
being untruthful about the use of AI, because then your customer trust just totally erodes. And that's where I think you would shoot yourself in the foot.
Question number 2. Ace is a non-tech bro, and he said, "Beyond the hype, what is the actual business cost of delaying AI in terms of lost billable hours and market share?" It sounds like Chase might be in a freelance or a legal industry where like you have billable hours. So just to read that question one more time, beyond the hype, what is the actual business cost of delaying AI?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's your dollar worth, or what's your time worth? Your
Yeah.
cost per hour. What's your dollar worth? What's your time worth? And that's how you quantify it ultimately. And if you have billable hours, like you said, Drew, you're probably in something like legal, in some sort of legal field, potentially an attorney. Hello, I was talking to an attorney this past weekend. AI, apparently, it's like the Wild West, and it's changing the game because it is making people so efficient. I think ultimately it's just what the value of your time, right? Like, what else would you say?
No, I think that that's a great point, and honestly, that's a different way than I was going. But I think that that's 100% right. If you are doing billable hours or hourly work, you need to determine how much your hour's worth, which you're probably charging, $150 an hour, whatever the legal field charges on average, and you can look at that and say, well, if I'm saving time, I'm basically paying myself $100 an hour, right? Or I'm paying myself $150 an hour if I can save an hour. If I can save 4 hours. We were talking about Whisper Flow before this, which I've been using, and I think it's an amazing product. It's funny because it's so simple, but it's an amazing product, and I've been using it, and I love it. But they have a calculator on there. It's like, you've saved X amount of time. For me, I can literally take that time that I've saved, and I can go through and say, well, this is how much I can make an hour, and that's how much time I'm saving. That's how much money I'm making. So, how much what's the cost of delaying AI? Like, without saying AI, it's like, it's just, what's the cost of delaying efficiency?
Exactly. And that's ultimately what it comes down to, is efficiency. Because maybe you don't care about your dollar per hour. Maybe you want to spend more time with your kids. And there's a pretty good reason to save some time. Now you have your free time freed up so that you can spend time with your family and your wife and the people that do need you.
I mean, that's a pretty simple question, honestly. Like, beyond the hype, it's like, just do the math. Can this save me time? And if so, how much time can it save me? And then run it past how much you make an hour, and that's how much it costs to not do it, right? Moving on. Sarah is a skeptical VP. Well, welcome to the show, Sarah. Happy to have you, even though you're skeptical. What is the specific language of permission needed to justify an AI budget to a CEO focused on stability over novelty? So they don't want to get lured into the hype. So what is the specific language that you would say to a CEO as to why we need to do this?
I mean, if you're a CEO and you don't already know the answer to that, you shouldn't be a CEO. I mean, it may be the VP. Vanessa, you should apply for that job.
But the issue, though, and I empathize here, is there's a lot of different things we could be doing. Like, we're doing well right now. We obviously want to grow, but we don't want to grow at the expense of stability. This AI thing is clearly a thing, right? It's clearly here. What should we be implementing? And is it the right move versus staying where we are? I think that's where they are at.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I'm going to kind of answer this question a different way. But if I were the CEO, let's say they work at a manufacturing company where AI is a little obscure, and it's kind of, how would you implement AI? If I were the CEO, what I would do is I would talk to those department heads, the VPs of HR, of sales, of operations, of manufacturing, IT, get everyone in a room and really nail down where those bottlenecks are and what the process is. So reacquainting myself with the org chart of the organization and going down that org chart and say, wait, what does this person do? That doesn't make any sense. And of course, you could see why AI is probably the most hated thing in the world because, sorry, Rachel, you don't need that job, or we don't need you here. But on the contrary to that, from a shareholder perspective or a CEO perspective, I think kind of going down that way and really boiling down the routes and then figuring out within that, because maybe you do get an AI receptionist because it doesn't matter if a human answers the phone. So you can get, and pay a couple $1,000s a month to have the best AI receptionist. Or maybe, it's your HR system. Maybe you have 5 people or 15 people in your HR department when you could have 5. So I think ultimately, Drew, it does take a dynamic leader who's willing and able to kind of really get in the weeds. But what would you add to that?
I was trying to find it, but there's this article recently on someone who used to work with Elon Musk, and he said that you have to be accountable for every 15-minute slot during the day. Like if someone asked you what were you doing at 1:15, you have to know what you were doing at 1:15 to 1:30. Okay? It goes back to the part where you were saying that you need to reacquaint yourself with your org chart. Reacquaint yourself with what is everyone doing at this company? Are they using their time fully efficiently? Right? Where's the wasted time? And the beauty of AI is that people can go on their lunch break and enjoy their lunch break where they're not getting bombarded by text messages and they're not like rushing through their lunch, and AI can be doing things, right?
Mhm.
Sarah's out of office. It's like Sarah's out of office for an hour because she's doing lunch. This question needs to get answered right now. Well, we have a company knowledge base that has all of the knowledge base was a part of all the meetings that you were a part of, all the meetings I was a part of. It has all the information. You just need to ask it the question that you need answered, and it gives you an answer. I mean,
Definitely. And I think more, now that I'm thinking a little bit more about it, and I'm saying, oh, you could turn 15-person team to 5-person team. If that's not the culture that you want to establish, I think a really solid way and potentially strategically smarter way about that is to sit down with that person, that auxiliary role that kind of seems like fluff, and just ask them within their role, what would you do different? How do you have any ideas? And take that and roll with it. And that could be a potential, potentially an opportunity to keep everyone in house and double the size of your company or 10x the size of your company.
yeah. I think when you make a decision to be stable, you're not, it's not stability versus novelty, even though that's what the question is asking. I think this is a really closed-minded way of thinking about it. It's not just stability over novelty, it's also stability over growth. Like we need to be stable. You can't you you can get yourself to a very stable place and then grow, but if you're building a house, for example, or if you're building a skyscraper, like you have to have a solid foundation. Obviously, you have to make sure the foundation is on point before we start building. But as you're building, you run the risk of possibly messing up your stability in the first place. A lot of these companies are borrowing a ton of money right now for growth. If they fail, they're just $800 billion in debt. That's the price of growing. So it's not just stability over novelty; it's also stability over growth or innovation. Even Michael, operations director. How do we introduce AI agents to a stretched team without triggering replacement fears or creating new bottlenecks? That's a really good
I think
question.
we just Yeah, I mean, we just answered part of that.
Mhm.
But sorry, what were you gonna say?
I think we are building on the last question, but it is understanding your org chart, i- through and through. And I think I would like to think people do this. I would like to think CEOs at companies do this, but it's probably not being done at the level it should be done. So reacquainting yourself with your org chart. What is everyone doing? What is their responsibilities? And then coming up with an idea of like what is their time, what is their time worth, I guess, but also what are they doing, day to day, 15 minute by 15 minute if you're Elon Musk, and understanding that, hey, how can I help them be more productive? How can we get 2 days in one with with maybe less work or the same amount of work? How can we
Definitely.
get more done? And so these I like to call them instruments, but these, because it's like it's genuine orchestration, AI orchestration at this point, where you have a Claude or you have a Manus that is orchestrating different AI instruments below it. How can I use that to make Sally's day more productive without her having to like stress more and have to, um, do more work, stay late, right? To get 2 days worth of work done. No, she's going to use an AI agent to get all of her books done. And while that's happening, while that's being done over here um, on this terminal over here, she could be over here answering emails or, in a meeting even. Like while I'm in the meeting, this is happening over here. So I'm able to be in 2 places at once. And if you can do that, I mean, your productivity goes through the roof, and growth, in my opinion, is inevitable if you're aiming at in the right direction. I guess the question was, how do I introduce them? Right? So,
Oh, it so I think in this vein, a interesting thing that you could do, because I was kind of putting myself in that position. What I would do, and this is assuming, uh, we didn't get the particulars on, this person's business, or did we? Did we? No, we didn't. Um, but I don't know. Let's say you have 30, 40 people. I'm going to stick with my manufacturing company example. And I would identify the youngest people there and ask them, how do you use AI in your personal life and whatever? And just listen and what they're saying and start to see the patterns of where they're using it, enjoying it. And you could potentially overlap it, because as the CEO, that is your job, to come up with the solutions and to see the abstract where people don't see it. And on top of that, a lot of people enjoy working as teams. And if you can give a team, align the incentives with it. So give the HR team some sort of what motivates them. Do they want a company trip? Are they salespeople? If they're salespeople, they just want to check. Figure out what makes them tick and align incentives that make sense on your AI North Star. And and what does that mean, the AI North Star? Well, you probably shouldn't be doing this if you don't have that. And I think it's very easy to get that in the fact that you should be using AI and you should have, some sort of paid AI subscription. So you really are getting the most of it. And you can really figure out the strategy that I just mentioned and how to practically implement that into your business.
yeah, I think the best way of doing this is exactly like you said, having a small team. And I will ask as well, like as a CEO, like what is your testing budget? What is your budget every single month, every single year that you are using to test and figure out what the next technology is and how we can implement it, right? So if you
Testing
have,
budget.
yeah,
That's
so
Hey, wait, that was some sauce. So, get with your CFO and tell them, let's find some room for I mean, couple $1,000, let's say 1% of your budget a month, 2%, 3% of your budget a month, just spend on AI testing on new tools, different things. They might not work, they might break. So find the people that are interested in the AI and put them on that and give them that stipend to really learn it and play with it, and then listen to your people.
right. Um, I believe that I forgot what it was, but I thought that Meta, way back in the day, Meta was like, we're allocating 10% of our, of our revenue. We're implementing 10%, allocating 10% of our revenue to testing, right? This was when they were doing the metaverse and all this stuff, right? And apparently they lost like $800 million off of it. Okay, cool. You don't need to put $800 million into your testing, but honestly, the way I was looking at this the other day, I was thinking about this. A company should hire, and I'm talking about like an hourly, budget, but they should hire an AI coach. I mean, I'm happy to do it if you would like, but an AI coach to come in and say, these are the basics, right? These are the basics of AI. This is what ChatGPT is. This is what Gemini is. This is what Claude is. Those are LLMs. This is what an agent is. And also this is what this podcast is. But these are the LLMs. These are the agents. These are the tasks that they can do. This is how you prompt them. And then your internal team is learning from this and having a 2-day seminar on a Friday and a Saturday, and they're learning this, and now they have to go and implement it, and you have certain KPIs, and you're like really tracking it, because you're allocating money to this. It needs to be tracked. And so it's tracking it as you're doing that. And I can only see, if a local plumbing company is doing this, like if we just had a plumber come, Lickety Split. Like if Lickety Split is doing this, they're gonna dominate all the plumbers here in Jacksonville, right? It's going to happen. So that's something I've been thinking about, and it costs like, These go on Fiverr or whatever, and you have a virtual meeting. It's like $50 an hour or $100 an hour or whatever. You do 5 hours. You know basically all 85% of the basics, and your team goes and implements that. How can you implement that for us? And then they go and do it. Super simple. But yeah, that's how I feel like you could have internal seminars and stuff like that, where it's just like, hey guys, Friday is going to be AI day for the next 2 months, and we're going to learn about this stuff. And I'm going to give you all the resources you need to learn about this. Now we're all thinking in that direction, and it's aligning with our team. I think that's a good way of introducing it. Question number 5, David, the founder. What is the one orchestration we can set up in 60 minutes that will buy back 3 hours of deep work by next Friday? Good question.
Obviously it depends on his line of business.
If you were going to do it for yourself and you were like, hey, what would be a problem right now that you would want to solve to get back 3 hours?
I got one. On Whisperflow, you can use it to do things, and because this is using AI ultimately, right? Like Whisperflow is put notes in your CRM. Okay, you just got off a call, brain dump. His dog's name is Rover. He has 2 kids. They like baseball and ballet. And remember, it allows you to really put in those personal details, because in sales, obviously, we know relationships are everything. So off the top of my head, that's certainly something. I think just using it to write email copy, like if you do like e-blasts or some sort of redundant email. I don't particularly like it so much if you're and double-edged sword here. Tell me what you think about this. Like corresponding with it. Like if I send you an email that was obviously heavily AI assisted, then you send me an email that's heavily AI assisted, and then I send one back. Like how do you feel about that?
Well, what's the goal of the email? That's what I always ask these people.
Yeah,
is like,
okay, good question.
Because I, as bad as it is, I'm so anti-corporate that it's like, if I send you an email, if I say, hey Chad, we're having a podcast at 2:45, and you say, like, and I had Claude send it, like literally, hey, make sure Chad is on the podcast at 2:45. Make sure you send the email. Sends it to you, and then you come back with, all right, sounds good, got it, and you send it back. Cool. We're all on the podcast at the right time. But it's when it's like our team has been suffering in sales recently, and it's like passive voice, passive voice, passive voice, passive voice.
M dash.
Yeah. And it's like you're talking back and forth, and it's like we're all just trying to not hurt each other's feelings. And it's like, what's the goal of all this? What's the goal that we're trying to accomplish? I think if there's no goal, it should just be like a one-time thing. I send you a ChatGPT message, you send me a ChatGPT message, we're done. It shouldn't be back and forth, back and forth. That's just my idea. That's just my personality. But that's how I feel about AI to AI.
Yeah. No, I would have the same instinct.
The way I would use it is, like I said, like halfway through, but one thing that I've really been thinking about is creating your company knowledge base. Sacagawea AI, basically taking everything that you guys do and having it on the call with you or having it on the meeting with you, right? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the meeting with you. It just gets the notes afterwards and it transcribes it, and every single word is in that transcription. You upload it to the knowledge base, and you can do this in ChatGPT. There's new AI products coming out every single day in the agency world. So you can just take those transcriptions, put them in there. You can take your company internal documents and all that stuff, like procedures and stuff like that, put it into the knowledge base. And what that's going to do, and you say buy back 3 hours, what that's going to do is, if Chad has a question for me, instead of coming to me, you ask the GPT first. And if it gives you an answer, you go with that.
Yeah.
So how much time does that save you if people don't have questions or let me run something by you? It's like, no, you talk to the agent, and if it can't come up with an answer, it gets escalated to me. So now I'm only answering questions that I have to absolutely answer, that there's no answer out there. And guess what happens? Once you ask me that question that can't be answered, now it's answered, it's in the knowledge base. So now that question is never going to have to be asked again.
Exactly. So it's in there, and then on top of that, I think as a CEO, you would want to see what questions are being asked because maybe I'm doing a bad job of in whatever that is. But you can continue to, as that knowledge base builds. Okay, what are questions? What are recurring themes here? What are and kind of start to collect that data. So it's really just having that knowledge base is that central hub. It also allows your business, first of all, to be saleable in the sense that it doesn't rely on key individuals, and it really starts to get to the point to where you could just kind of plug and play.
Right. So how can you implement it? The practical steps. You need to go through, like, let's say as far back as you can, get the transcripts from your recent, team meetings, customer calls, every single thing that you have on video, like on recording. Get the transcripts, put into ChatGPT. It says buy back 3 hours. You pay $20. You put into the GPT. It understands everything about you, and you have a link, and you send that to your team. Like, also test this with like one person. Be like, hey, this is the person that asked me the most questions. Let's run this for a week, and let's see how much time it saves me. Right? This is how much time this week, based on all their questions, this is how long it took me. And then week number 2, using GPT, how much time did it save? Right? And so try that. And for me, I think that works very, very well. That's all the questions.